everyone, and welcome to another edition of Sustaining Sustainability. I'm your host, C.B. Bhattacharya, professor and director of the Center for Sustainable Business at the University of Pittsburgh. Today, it is my great pleasure to welcome Anna Siefken, who is the executive director of the Scott Institute for Energy Innovation at Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh, PA. The reason we are so excited about having Anna on our show right from our backyard is that she just came back from the COP26 in Glasgow and has a lot of interesting stories to tell us. In 2020, Siefken was appointed by the US Department of Energy as a US Clean Energy Education and Empowerment Initiative ambassador. Prior to joining CMU in 2016, Anna, a lead AP, was the Pittsburgh 2030 District Director and Vice President of Strategic Engagement for the Green Building Alliance, one of the largest regional chapters of the US Green Building Council. Anna, welcome to the show.
It's very good to be here. Thank you so much, CB.
Sure. I appreciate you taking the time despite your jet lag coming back from Glasgow. Could you begin by telling us the why behind your own professional journey to become executive director and the clean tech and strategic partnerships lead at the Scott Institute for Energy Innovation at CMU? How would you define your personal purpose?
Well, it's an interesting question. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about this. I feel like I've been in almost an echo chamber this past week because so many people are working on the clean energy topics right now. But that hasn't always been the case. And so what led me to Carnegie Mellon and the more than 170 faculty members who are working in energy really was a desire, along with my personal purpose, to do absolutely everything that we can to mitigate the effects of climate change. So energy and the generation of energy disproportionately hits different communities. And so the research that happens at a big R1 university like Carnegie Mellon can really have a big influence. And that's what this is all about, right? I mean, we're all seeing the effects of climate change. And so we can use the tools that we have through research and partnership, entrepreneurship, to really drive home that the way that we use energy, the way that we make energy can have a profound effect on our climate. So my driver and the reason I'm at Carnegie Mellon is because I wanted to be at the center point for that. And luckily, with partners like you at University of Pittsburgh, we are able to really expand our reach to be global. And we're all in this together, only one Earth. So I think it's important for all of us to be aligned and sort of walking down that path on our mission.
Terrific. Hey, tell us a little bit about kind of the Scott Institute that you direct. What is its purpose? How does that purpose guide what you do and decide not to do? How you went to the COP26 delegation as one part of the institute. How did that happen?
So the Scott Institute was founded in 2012. We have a building on campus that was opened in 2016. And the idea was that we had these different researchers across the university who were working in energy, but all of their efforts hadn't been sort of combined into a hub. And so we serve as that virtual hub for all of those faculty members so that they can come together with not only partnerships, with industry, and with each other. So a lot of the work that we see in a university, as you will know, is individual faculty members, they have relationships. So the goal of the Scott Institute is to amplify those relationships, to address and find new relationships, and to have to make an exponentially larger impact of the work that any one faculty member or university, for that matter, could do.
So coming to the topic of COP26, share with us some candid observations about the summit. I mean, what sticks in your mind at this point? What would you say are some successes and failures? It's an open-ended question.
It's a big one. So when you have that many leaders from that many places for that long, it was quite an experience. So this is the first time that I'd been to COP. I didn't really know what to expect. And so when people have asked me my initial impressions, it's hope, but also sadness, willingness to push forward. I feel inspired, but there's also a part of me that thinks there's so much work that needs to be done. I want to develop the next group of students and workers who can actually be a part of this economy. So I guess it's like sort of both sides. It's like really, it's a lot to process. But when I get to like key themes and topics, I've actually a couple that come to mind. So, I mean, we did make incremental and segmented progress, meaning that, there were a few key things that were decided around deforestation and methane emissions reductions. There were some key things that happened around EVs and e-mobility, electrification, but each of those were sort of segmented. So I think it's going to be a big picture that's needed to pull all of those things together. I also had a lot of conversations about technology alone is not going to get us there. So there were many discussions about sort of the existing technologies versus what's the next big thing that's going to happen. A lot of conversations around hydrogen, all colors of hydrogen, primarily green, but it brought me back to behavior change because there is going to be a part of this where behavior change is really critical. Accountability was a really, really consistent and strong thread, not only from the people who were taking notice. There were 2 different days when there were protests of more than 50,000 people each. So there's going to be an accountability for organizations, countries, companies that really comes through because people are going to want to work for companies and be a part of companies and purchase from companies that are more involved in this. Transparency is going to be critically important. This idea of, countries, all of these countries that were coming together, they have to let us know whether they're actually meeting their climate goals or not. And I think the or not is really important because right now everything's adding up and it's not below 1.5 C. So that's, the goal that was set as part of the Paris Accords. There was a lot of debate around the framework, like what framework should we use? And I thought to myself, we're just in semantics here. Like we just need to get down to it. But then when we got down to it, it was about financial structures. So there's a lot of conversation that was happening about who's going to pay for this and how will the sort of big developed countries help those that are still developing. There were a lot of coalitions that came together. There were, Denmark and Costa Rica were talking about beyond oil and gas. They created an alliance. So there were any number of alliances that were forming and many signing events, as you well know. And then the final thing really that I came out of this is that we're just not moving fast enough, right? Even with all of these forces and all of these things coming together, if you do the math, we're still not at 1.5 C. And so that was really a key thing that came for me was that we all have to really double down in terms of our partnerships and our work and our research, deployment, pilots, et cetera, getting cities involved, getting countries involved so that we can really move things forward. So those are just some of the key things that I was thinking about and have been thinking about since I got back.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And in fact, going on off of that, I cannot help but ask a follow-up question, which is, did you hear anyone anywhere talking about the need to reduce consumption in the global north? Because my sense is that, unless we sacrifice and those who have a lot, unless they give up some of that stuff and redistribute it with, those in the global south who need stuff, we're never gonna meet this goal. Am I right? Was there anywhere you picked up or people talked about kind of, hey, we are living too large for this planet?
Right. I absolutely saw that. And I particularly saw it and heard it in these developing countries and in indigenous nations. There were quite a few delegations that came where they really haven't seen the fruits of what I would call the current industrial revolution, whatever number it might be named. They aren't there yet. When you think about the billions of people in the world who still don't have electricity, it's really difficult for them to also be thinking about, cutting back. So this redistribution is a very interesting idea. I didn't necessarily hear so much about that outside of individual conversations where everyone was talking about how we have exhausted the resources of our planet and how we can't kick the can down the road any further. Like we're at the point where if we don't act, cities will see the devastation that's already begun get worse. And so I think what you're saying and your question is a valid one. And I think it's an important one for all of us to be thinking about. It definitely makes me want to think twice about anything I purchase, particularly with the supply chain issues that we're already having. Again, they might get worse, and my hope is that they get better.
Right, right. Now, curiously enough, Pittsburgh has been in the news in Glasgow during COP26, and there were at least like a couple of events or occasions in which Pittsburgh came into a little bit of the limelight. What were you hearing about this?
Well, I mean, it's exciting to be from a place called like Pittsburgh right now. There's been a lot of sort of focus over time, I think, on the coasts in the United States, and so it's nice that the Midwest or Appalachia region is sort of seeing part of its due. We built the energy systems and many of the products of our country for the longest time, and then we suffered we were ravaged by the devastation with job losses and environmental decline. Well, economic decline as well. So there were really three big announcements that I heard related to Pittsburgh. And so the first was that the U.S. Department of Energy announced that the city of Pittsburgh is going to host the 2022 International Clean Energy and Mission Innovation Ministerials. And that will be in our city, September 21 through 23 next year. And the news was delivered by DOE Secretary Jennifer Granholm, who actually shared that news on Energy Day, of all days. And she said that Pittsburgh is really a town that exemplifies how a legacy energy and industrial dependent economy can be transformed into a technology and innovation powerhouse. So it's always nice when the head of energy for the United States has that to say. The second announcement that just was announced yesterday, when Mayor Peduto and our Chief Resilience Officer Grant Irvin were both at COP, was specific to a climate cup. It's called the Climate Cup. So we came in second place in that Climate Cup, and there were some pretty significant things actually related to the Marshall Plan. So CB, you might actually want to mention that one.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that we are very proud that Pittsburgh won that Climate Cup. And just for our listeners, that the Center for Sustainable Business actually developed the roadmap for the Marshall Plan for Middle America, which was one of the components or one of the inputs that went into Pittsburgh winning that Climate Cup. So
Yep.
it certainly does make us very happy. But coming back to that Clean Energy Ministerial, Anna, what sort of unique perspectives do you think the Pittsburgh region can bring to this meeting?
Well, I think that the opportunity in front of us in hosting these delegations, my understanding is it's 39 different countries and 18 additional sort of delegations that come in with all of their entourages. The overwhelming amount of interest that I've seen in the past week, not only in Pittsburgh, but also in the ministerials, has really, really been welcome. So it's like we've been in Pittsburgh doing this incredible work. We're sort of coming to this tipping point where people are taking notice as they should. So from my perspective, what we're going to get out of it is not only the international attention that I feel we deserve for the work that we've done around high performance buildings, the work that we've done on improving air quality, the work that we've done on research around batteries and different technologies. A lot of it is coming out of Carnegie Mellon.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that we're going to see, we're going to get some notice. We're going to get the notice that we deserve. And I think that a lot of our efforts are going to come together. And a convening like this just has a greater meaning. In fact, I've heard it called the Energy World Cup. So what a great opportunity for us as a city to sort of showcase the transition that we've done from traditional fuels and into the future.
Wow, certainly looking forward to that one. I wanted to go back a little bit in your career, as I think our listeners would be very interested in learning a little bit more about your role as a U.S. clean energy education and empowerment, also in short known as C3E, a C3E ambassador. Can you tell us what you did in that role?
Well, it was quite an honor when I was contacted by the Department of Energy a year or so ago to be a part of this group of inspiring women. There are 40 of us, and there are a few men that are a part of this as ambassadors. And what we do is multifold. So we hold an annual summit, and we recognize 8 young mid-career women who are working in energy to provide them with, recognition, basically. So there's awards for research. There's awards for different technology development, for corporate sustainability, for nonprofit work, for education K through 12. Because what we want to do is lift as many stories as we can, so that we inspire the next generation of people who are going to be working in clean energy.
This is wonderful. Congratulations on being selected to be such an ambassador.
Thank you.
Um, I know we're coming to the close of our time, so I will just jump straight to the end. So with COP26 in mind, and with all your reflections and images in mind, what call to action would you make to our listeners?
Get ready to dig in. I think it's going to take more voices. It's going to take more people, particularly if we want to have an equitable energy future in addition to a resilient energy future. Those two things go hand in hand. We're going to need a lot of people. We're going to need people who are technical and people who are not technical. We're going to need a workforce that's ready with not only the infrastructure bill, but the Build Back Better, hopefully coming forward. There really will be opportunities for more people to get in. So I know that when I think about the number of women who are in energy has certainly grown significantly in the past few years, but it's just a start. It's interesting because there's conversations about whether, which country should be carrying the burden. And I think it's going to be all countries that are carrying the burden. We're going to be disproportionately impacted, but each of us is going to have our own impacts. And so
Small
I am,
actions, big difference, right?
yeah, that's right. I am inspired to be a part of a collective, a group of voices that are coming together to really push and push and push. I think that's what John Kerry was able to do. I think that's what many of our national and international leaders were able to do. I think that's what COP leadership was looking for. And so I think it's time for all of us to get ready and dig in.
And I certainly want to, I and everyone else at the center and the University of Pittsburgh, certainly we want to join hands and be partners in this good fight and do whatever we can collectively to make our world a better place, right? Anna Siefken, thank you so much for joining us today.
I'm very glad to be here. And thank you again for the opportunity, CB. I so appreciate all of the work that you're doing and your team is just amazing. So great. Looking forward to our partnership continuing.
Thank you. And before I sign off, I just want to say that this podcast is made possible with the help of my colleagues Chris Gassman, who is Associate Director at the Center for Sustainable Business, and Sukanya Romyanan, who is a Center Associate at the Center for Sustainable Business. I'm your host, CB Bhattacharya, and I will see you in a couple of weeks for the next episode of Sustaining Sustainability.